as the wheels turn beneath you, chasing future to your past, doubling your vision, falling tears on broken glass. I look out of the window, mirror on my fears, biting light shows no respite until the blue of night is near. Oh, I don't know what I want, but I know the way I feel. This energy between us has never felt so real.
Hello, and welcome to the second episode of the Jenni Makes Podcast. This is a podcast primarily about knitting, but with a good sprinkling of other fibre-related crafts along the way. So I have one of my co-hosts with me today. This is Phoebe. She's been crying outside of the room where I'm recording the podcast as I was setting up, and is now very happy that I've let her back in. I'm not sure if she'll stick around. She's the less yarn interested one of my two cats, so I'm hoping as I show you things she's not gonna launch into attack mode, which is probably what Moose would do if she makes an entrance. So yes, this is Phoebe. So first things first, I want to say a really big thank you to anyone who watched my first episode. It was lovely to see that people had watched it, to get some nice comments. I enjoyed that in particular the comments focused on ways that I can manage to get my cats to not attack my knitting, so I've got some good suggestions to go by. I think my personal favourite was somebody suggested putting the ball of yarn down my top and kind of making my top like a yarn bowl, essentially, so that the cats can get to it. I have not yet been driven to that, but I mean, it's probably only a matter of time. So yeah, thank you for giving me such a warm welcome. I feel like I want to just quickly add as well, so this is a new podcast, a fresh start for me. I did actually have a podcast maybe about 6 years ago, which I think some people were still subscribed to, and I got a couple of confused messages of why am I already subscribed if this is episode 1? So yeah, sorry, I didn't make that clear. Yeah, I used to have a podcast a long time ago, which I recorded when I still lived with my parents, using my laptop webcam, and when I've gone back and looked at them, wow, I'm 3 pixels across. The footage is really poor. And I did really enjoy recording that podcast, but I think life got busy, and yeah, at the time I was living in a place where the internet connection was so poor, I used to have to leave the video to upload overnight, even if it was just a 30-minute video, and even then it wouldn't, sometimes it wouldn't upload, and it just got a bit tedious. So I'm hoping this time around I can make a bit of a better try of it. Anyway, loads of rambling aside, I've got loads of finished objects to share with you today, and a whip, which I didn't talk about in my first episode. I have actually been off sick from work for the last week, so I feel like I need to preface this with saying that I will definitely not usually be this productive in 2 weeks. It's just because I had a wisdom tooth taken out, and that has meant that I've not been at work, or even on my days off I've not been out doing fun things because my face hurts. So feeling a lot better today. But yeah, anyone who's had wisdom teeth taken out knows that it's not a fun time. But yeah, it's meant that I've been able to get a lot of knitting done, so that's been good. So first things first finished object. Oh my goodness, I thought I would never finish it, and I have. So here is, in all its glory, it is my half and half triangles wrap by Purl Soho, knitted up in JC Rennie 4-ply lambswool. yeah, I honestly thought I would never finish this. So I talked about the construction and like the modifications I made in my first episode, but basically I think I did cast on the larger size, and I have a weird recollection that I cast on the number of stitches for the larger size minus 10 because I didn't think I was going to have enough yarn, but I actually had a ball spare of each colour, so that was wrong. I did an I-cord edging, don't know if you can see, where I just slit the last 3 stitches of every other row, yes, yeah, to create a nice edge. And I did German short rows rather than wrap and turn, so that's what it looks like on one side, and then it looks like that on the other side. So the yarn is beautiful. I absolutely love the yarn. It's really light, it's really warm. I think I've got a couple of like big shawl, well no, that's a lie, I have one big like triangular shawl, and I like to wear it like this, knotted like that, so it's like super cozy, and I like how you can see, yeah, both the colours. So I feel like I need to like voice this about this finished object. It's something I'm a little bit annoyed about myself for doing because it's such a big project and it's such a small change. And I did swatch for this. Basically, I'm quite a tight knitter. I usually go up like half a needle size or a full needle size, and for some reason I didn't do that for this project, and as a result, even though I can just about like fold it in half, wrap it and tie it, it is quite thick, and I just feel like it would have been better if I'd done it on, I think I did it on a 3.5, which is what the pattern recommends. I should have done it on 3.75, or maybe even a 4, which is maybe my thinking of why I've ended up with extra yarn, because my gauge was tighter. I've not checked my gauge, but I'm pretty sure it's not quite as big as it should have been. Yeah, so it's lovely and cozy. It'll make a lovely cozy lap blanket. I'm just not sure if it's just quite, I don't know, it's not quite as drapey as I think it's probably meant to be. But I need to let go of that because this took me, I think, about 2 years to make. I am never making another one. I need to remind myself of that, because there actually have been points like since casting it off where I've been like, oh, I could do another one, and like do it in like some more like fun hot colours, like more contrasting colours, and do it on the right gauge. No, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. It's beautiful, and there's definitely been points where having a project like this has been really lovely to work on. I feel like I've knitted on it a lot in airports. Yeah, but it's done and I am happy with it. I'm just annoyed because I know I did gauge swatch, because I remember like trying out a couple of different colour combinations, but I guess it was probably a teeny tiny gauge swatch, and I think, yeah, your gauge, or certainly my gauge, changes like depending on the width of the piece. Yeah, so I need to like let go of that negativity and just be happy that it's done. But yeah, I mean, not really much more about, like, not really, I don't really have much more to say about it. Other than that, it is lovely. It was really nice and mindless, and a lot of people have made them for good reason. It's yeah, it's like a fun construction. So yeah, I would recommend just make sure that your gauge is right, because when you're gonna knit like this many stitches, like, if I don't know, I'd be really intrigued to work out like how many individual stitches are like knitted, like how many thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, I don't know. But yeah, it's done and it's finished and it's cozy. So yeah, I'm happy. It's ticked off my list of like long-standing whips. So yeah, I finished that probably not that long after I recorded the first episode. I think it gave me a real push, like thinking about what I had on needles and like realising that it wasn't actually that far away from being done. So yeah, it's good. Happy days. Then on to the second finished object. This one like came together even quicker than I thought. So this is the, oh, is that the front or the back? That's the front. This is a Hansholme sweater by Petite Knit, and it's a jumper for my partner. And I think where I was at last episode was I think I just had one sleeve left to do. And I pretty much did that in like 2 days. I think I just had to sit down and focus, and it was done. So yeah, I'm really happy with this one. Sorry, it's covered in hair. I washed and blocked it a couple of days ago, and it was finally dry this morning, and I felt really mean, but when I got up this morning, my boyfriend was getting ready to go out for work, and he had like picked up and was wearing it ready to go to work, and I was like, oh, I would like to record an episode today, please can I borrow it and have it back? So I feel a bit mean that I've deprived him of wearing it today, but the yarn I used is, sorry, I'm just going to quickly refer to my notes. Yeah, so it is Faerie Folk DK, which was a blend of merino. I don't know why. Usually I'm quite good at remembering yarns, but not this one. So yeah, 70% merino and then 30% kid mohair by Folklore yarns. I've got loads left over. I've not actually weighed it, but I'm wondering if I've got enough for like a Sophie scarf or something. I don't know if that's weird to like match a scarf to my partner's jumper. I guess it could be a Christmas gift. But this yarn, it is beautiful. It blocked out so nicely. It's just become like a really lovely like cohesive fabric. I feel like it just shines really well, and sorry, Phoebe's like, oh, Phoebe's just watching me very intently. Yeah, it makes like the details, like the simple details, kind of stand out really nicely. Like I love like the fold over hem, and just yeah, like the very simple like raglan shaping. I think it'd be gorgeous in like a textured pullover. I can't stop thinking about maybe making a jumper for myself in the, I mentioned it last week, the grey yarn with like the rainbow fleck. I don't know how much I'd need for myself as well, because this ended up being quite expensive, but that is because I think I bought at least 100 grams more than I needed to. I think there's probably even more there. So yeah, I knit the medium size, and just, I think I just like went off one of the lengths of a sweater that I'd already made for my partner. I don't think I made any like major modifications. Don't think I made any modifications. Yeah, there's not really tons to say about it. It's a very simple sweater. The two other sweaters I've made for my partner have been quite, well, one's like an all over cabled pullover, and then the other is like an intarsia patchwork one, so it was quite nice to just do a simple one. So yeah, I feel like the colour is not very accurate. It's like a lovely like multi-dimensional kind of purple with like blue and red flecks in it. Yeah, so it's really nice, really gorgeous. So that is done as well. Yeah, really happy to have a nice pile of finished things next to me. Yeah, and like glad now that, well, I think it's meant to be really warm this weekend, which is crazy because it's, yeah, October, but so I don't know if it's jumper weather yet, but soon it will be. So yeah, that is done. Third thing that's finished, I really have to emphasise that like I feel like most of these episodes are just me like talking about the progress I've made on one whip and no finished objects, but apparently there's like a bumper crop of finished objects today. These are kind of a bit smaller, so I don't know whether I'll insert a picture because they're going to be really difficult to show, but maybe I will like unravel a bit. In the first episode I talked about making some crochet bunting for my parents' wedding anniversary party that they're having this weekend. So I'll just show you that. So yeah, happy. So yeah, I really love working on these. It's just a very simple single crochet triangle where you start at the tip of the triangle and increase at the end of every row until you have 22 stitches. That was how long I worked it for. I've used Shiny Happy Cotton by Wool and the Gang, which is an Aran weight cotton, like a nice matte cotton. I really like working with it. Still, I've got loads of scraps left over from working for them a few years ago. The scrap stash is slowly going down, but even after doing all of this, I still have some left. So anyway, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And then I just embroidered in using some chain stitch embroidery onto the triangles, and then I just used I've not really shown that very well, and I've already tied it up again, but I just I did a chain of 60 stitches before like joining in the first triangle, and then I did 3 stitches in between each triangle. So I did like that as a foundation chain, and then went back across in single crochet to do like a two-tone thing. So yeah, the party is tomorrow, and I'm gonna go a bit earlier to help set up. And I know my mum has she's made some decorations as well, some like autumnal themed decorations. So I'm hoping that they'll be happy with these. They do know that they're getting some bunting, but they don't know what it looks like. So I hope they like it. But yeah, I can't remember how much I talked about what I actually spelled out in it last episode, but I've written happy 35th anniversary, and then Fiona and Jeff with a heart in between Fiona and Jeff with my parents' names. So yeah, I'm really happy that that's done. It was nice, like a nice little palette cleanser, and I took it to work for a few shifts as well when my projects were either the ones I've been working on were finished, or at a point where they were just too big to justify taking to work. So yeah, it was fun. I kind of want to make some for myself now. To try and use up that never-ending supply of scraps of shiny happy cotton that I have. I'm sure it just multiplies in the bag that it's in. I do not know how it's possible, the amount of projects I've made out of it. Made baskets, made a little cat-shaped doorstop, made coasters. Yeah, it's just the gift that keeps on giving. So that is it for my whips. Sorry, I feel like I absolutely was a whirlwind through those. I know, because I'm conscious that I talked about them quite a lot last episode, and don't want it to get repetitive and boring. But I hope I've included all of the main details. So now let's get on to my works in progress. Sorry, I'm distracting myself by stroking Phoebe. She's so soft. She's so soft. She's fast asleep on my lap. I'm not sure where the other one is. Hopefully not wreaking havoc anywhere. It's quiet, so that usually means she's asleep somewhere. So first work in progress, which I actually was if I leave this and don't record for another day, this is going to be another finished object, which is a bit ridiculous because it's never even been shown on the podcast. This has been dormant in a bag for quite a while. I think longer than I think, because I thought it'd only maybe been a couple of months, but I'm sure I've not had it out of its bag since we got the cats, and that was in June. So yes, so this, it has yarn balls attached, so it would be really excellent if no cat makes an appearance right now, because she will get very excited and try and attack it. So this is, I don't really know what to call it. This is my stripy jumper. I'm trying not to poke Phoebe with the knitting needles that are attached to the sleeve still. Oh, sorry, I'm making a bit of a mess of this. So yeah, this is a stripy jumper that I'm making. It's self-drafted. kind of using that construction where you start at the back neck and like rapidly increase out. Is that how I did it? Yeah, I think I started at the back neck, started here, and then like increased here and like was working flat and then knitted down like flat, and then picked up the stitches. Sorry, Phoebe, she's getting tickled by the yarn ends. Picked up the stitches either side and then knitted that flat and then joined this bit together flat and then joined in the round to finish the body and then picked up the sleeves directly from the body. I feel like my maths is maybe slightly off. I have blocked the body and I don't know if I maybe started off with few stitches when I cast on the back neck, because I don't know how much you can see this, but you see how that's kind of like bouldering a little bit. If I kind of pull it, it doesn't, but it is bulging a bit, and like I feel like the collar doesn't sit like totally flush. You can see how it's kind of like curving over. I don't know, I feel like when I tried it on, it's looked fine, so I'm hoping it will be fine. And also it's not like it's just for me to wear. It's not, I don't really have any intentions of like writing out the pattern or anything like that, so it doesn't really matter. I think just as long as it looks right on me, I never have to replicate it. So yeah, the yarn I'm using is truly one of my desert island yarns. So it is Mondim by Retrosaria, Rosa, Poma, and it's a Portuguese yarn. It's a 4-ply, I think it's 385 meters per 100 grams, and I just love this yarn. I've knitted 2 pairs of socks in it. I have another kind of dormant cardigan whip, which I've been thinking more about over the last few days, and I think I might unravel to make it into something else. And then I've got this, and it's just such a good yarn. It's just such a good weight. It's really lofty, but then it's really hard wearing. The socks I've got 2 pairs of socks, and they both held up really well. Like one pair I've worn like on full day walks, and they've held up really well, not got any holes. And I love the colours. I noticed a few days ago that I think so Rosa Poma, I think, is the owner. I don't know if Retrosaria is the name of the shop, I'm not really sure. But anyway, Rosa Poma posted about having, I think they'd done a collaboration with, I think it must be a Portuguese hand dyer, and they had like loads of hand dyed Mondim, and I'm not usually into like hand dyed yarns particularly, but these shades are really gorgeous and I was really tempted, but I resisted the urge because to order like 1 skein of sock yarn from Portugal is a bit excessive. But yeah, I'm happy with how this is turning out. I don't really know why I left it to one side. I seem to have a really bad habit of doing that. When something just has 1 sleeve left, I'll just like throw it in a bag and forget about it for 6 months. I think what it is I find it very tedious picking up stitches for sleeves when like the rate isn't like a particularly nice rate in terms of like the pickup rate. So this, I don't know, I was trying to like follow what I'd done from the other sleeve, and then the other sleeve like didn't really seem to follow a lot of logic. I mean, it's blocked out and sits fine, but I'm sure like on the front I was like almost like picking up every other stitch, and then on the back it was like pick up 2, skip 1. I don't know. It seems to sit fine, and the stitch counts work out, and like there's not any like puckering or anything, I don't think. But yeah, I think that was maybe why I'd left it, because it was at that point where I needed to pick up the second sleeve. And also I do prefer knitting jumpers in this way, so like top down and then going back and picking up the sleeves, and I like a drop shoulder construction, but when like those first few rounds or those first few stripes of knitting a sleeve where you're having to like twist it like back and forth, and particularly because there's two strands of yarn coming off it, it was just a bit tedious. But yeah, I think I'm on the home straight now. I think I counted, at last count, I think I'd done 26 stripes, and it's 45 stripes then the cuff, so I'm kind of like halfway. The stitch pattern I'm using, in case you can like have a proper look at it, I'm using a 2x2 broken rib. I love broken rib for socks, and I was like, yeah, well, I'll put it on a jumper. And it's kind of giving me licorice all sort vibes. It was also kind of giving me bagpuss vibes, but I don't think bagpuss is actually these colours. Yeah, so it's nearly done, and I need to get it finished because it will be the perfect weight for like this time of year. I need to start getting those four ply knits out. So yeah, I'm kind of tempted to do like a vest version potentially. I think it would look cool having like the chunky rib instead of the sleeves, and maybe making the shoulders a bit narrower because this is going to be a pretty boxy, like oversized fit. It's actually used more yarn than I thought it would. So initially I bought the yarn from the Retrosaria shop in Portugal. I went last year for a birthday trip in November. I went to the shop and it was really cool. It was a very chic shop, very like curated, and I don't know, I mean, I quite like a chaotic yarn shop where there's just like yarn everywhere and there's like loads of colour and you kind of have to like rummage through to find gems, and the shop wasn't like that at all, but I did appreciate how like beautifully curated it was. It felt like very like you were in like a high-end boutique or something. So yeah, I got the yarn when I was there, and I got 2 balls of each colour, and I ran out of the black like there on the sleeve, so it's like there, which is annoying. So I had to buy another ball of black, and I know that I have made it oversized, and I know that it does have like a texture pattern which probably eats yarn, but I think I've just kind of got used to making, like when I've made jumpers for myself, I've managed to get away with 300 gram balls, so 300 grams of full ply. I guess the meter is just slightly shorter. I'm hoping, like, I've got half sleeve to go and I've got this much of the pink left, so I think that'll be enough. And there will obviously be loads of black left over. I guess I just used more than I thought, like having to use 500 grams. I know it's not going to be 500 grams, but having to buy 500 grams for a full ply sweater is quite a lot. I'm going to have to think about what I'm going to do with all this Mondim stash, like Mondim leftovers, because I've got like quite a few scraps of various different colours. I really want to knit like little jumpers for the cats. When I've been knitting this jumper this morning, I like wrapped a sleeve around Phoebe to make it look like she was wearing a jumper, and I think it really suited her. And she didn't move away or try and bite it, which I'm gonna class as a win, and that she is a fan. So yeah, that project will hopefully be a finished object. Maybe I'll even be wearing it in the next episode. So yeah, I don't really know what to call it, but just my stripy broken rib sweater. I'm gonna pop it down there because I feel like the finished object pile is getting a bit wobbly and precarious. So right, I feel like I am zooming through this today, which makes me worry that I am talking very quickly and like maybe in a bit of a chaotic way, so I apologise. So I've also got like fluff in my eye, possibly because I have not left the house in a few days, and the only person I've talked to is my boyfriend, just from not really feeling like talking because of my sore face, which I put I did a little bit of b-roll again for the start of this episode, which I actually recorded I think like almost, I don't know when, maybe like 5 days or so ago now, so if my face looks kind of puffy in that video, you now will understand why. I think the swelling has gone down now, like visibly. It's still kind of tender, but Anyway, sorry, this is not a wisdom tooth podcast. It's back to the knitting. That's what everyone is here for. So I've been having a good think about the projects I have on the needles, the things that are languishing, the yarn that I really want to get out of stash. And I've got a couple of sweater quantities that are beautiful and I'm really enthusiastic about using, but I've had them, certainly one sweater quantity, which I've got next to me, I'll show in a second, I've had in my stash since I think 2019. I bought it just before I moved to Newcastle, so 4 years. Yeah, that would work out. And so here it is, I will show it to you. So it's this really, really beautiful sport weight, undyed yarn. It is a blend of Teeswater, Gotland and Blueface Leicester, which I picked up from Northern Yarn, a lovely knitting shop in Lancaster. And it's produced by Dodgson Wood, I think they're called, and I think Sheer Delight is the yarn brand, and like this particular yarn is called Athena. I don't know if it's still produced. I don't know if it was like a one-off patch, but it is beautiful. And I've had it, sat in stash for 4 years, wondering what to do with it, not knowing what to do with it, and maybe feeling a bit bad that I've got this like gorgeous sweater quantity that is just kind of gathering dust essentially, and I've not been able to release it from the stash into a lovely garment. I don't really know why that is. I think maybe I've been trying to gravitate to like stronger colours and more fun colours maybe. I don't know. I say that I'm sat next to a shawl that is grey and black and a jumper that is black and pink. I guess pink's a bit more fun. So yeah, I've got this. And then, so I was thinking about this yarn, and then I also sort of accidentally bought a second sweater quantity of grey yarn, which is a really silly thing to do, and I think just a symbol of like sometimes when you're at a knitting festival and you make an impulse purchase, and often my impulse purchases look like grey yarn. I have a real thing for undyed grey yarn. So this is Black Isle Yarns, I want to say Auchen? What did I write in my notes? Auchen, 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 and by Black Isle Yarns, and this is a blend of Shetland, Blue-Faced Leicester, oh that was hard to say, and Cheviot, and this is also a full, sport. I think this one was 410 meters to 110 grams, and it's like a very, I don't know how much you can see, but like when you compare the two yarns, I don't know loads about yarn construction. Yeah, I don't even know actually. Usually I'm quite good at telling the difference between woolen and worsted spun, but I'm not actually sure what these ones were. That looks like woolen spun, and this looks like worsted spun, but don't quote me on it. But you can see that like the Athena, it has like a tighter twist, and whereas like this yarn looks like a lot more lofty. They both smell amazing. Anyway, so I was thinking a lot about how I can use these yarns, and I was sort of feeling a bit silly because I was like, I don't need two jumpers in. I know like when you hold them together you can see they are quite different, and I feel like they're showing up even more different on camera. In reality, like this one, I don't know, this looks really white on camera, but it's not. It is like a light grey. Yeah, I was like, I don't need two grey jumpers. I feel like that's not what I want in my wardrobe. And then I was looking at patterns, and I have a lot of 4-ply garments in my wardrobe, which I love, but I'm quite a cold person, and in like 4-ply garments are great for sort of like transitional like autumn spring, but in winter I end up gravitating towards like I have like a couple of thicker jumpers, but really not many that are thicker than 4-ply. I've got one DK and then one that's like an Aran. And so I was like, oh, like I kept on looking at patterns that were for like DK and Aran weight yarn, and I was like, well, I don't really want to buy yarn when I've got this yarn in stash. And then I had like a eureka moment where I was like, I can hold these 2 yarns together. Mind blowing. But I don't know why I hadn't thought of that. I think part of me feels a little bit, this is going to sound really stupid, and I don't know if anyone is going to like sympathise with this at all, but part of me feels a little bit guilty that, so I love working with yarns that are breed specific. This yarn, the Black Isle yarn, even on the tag it has where the fibre came from, like the individual farms, and I just think that's incredible. And I was like, am I diluting that by putting the 2 together? But I think it's better to get it out of the plastic bags that it's been sat in, this one for 4 years and this one for coming up a year. I guess it's better to hold the 2 together and make a garment that I'm actually going to wear that's going to keep me warm, rather than like waiting for a pattern to come along that maybe will never come along and it'll just be sat forever, because that would be sad. So I did a swatch last night, and it, like, I had to go up several needle sizes. I really was really surprised at how like lofty the fabric is. So this one here is done on a 5.5 and this one here is done on a 6. I think both work. It's actually still kind of damp, but I think both work. I think for the patterns I've been looking at sort of more structured, like cardigan, almost like jacket patterns. So I think the one I settled on is the Bonnie cardigan by Orlanne Sucche. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. She's French. And I think she's maybe also Tete Beche on Instagram, I think. I'll put a picture up of it. But yeah, the Bonnie cardigan, it's kind of like a bomber shape. I really love the collar. And it's just got some nice little details, like a little braid by along the bottom ribbing. And I think actually that would suit a more structured fabric, I guess. Whereas like this top one maybe would have been better if I was, I don't know, doing like a sloppy jumper or a slip over or something. So I think I'm going to go with a 5.5, and I get gauge, which feels like a miracle because I never get gauge. And I think the fabric's lovely. I think holding the 2 together, it's like a lovely, like multi-dimensional grey. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. So I think once I've finished the stripy jumper, that's when I'm allowed to cast this one on. And I don't think it would take me that long. Like, it's 16 stitch gauge, which is pretty chunky on 5.5mm needles. I feel like that'll fly by. So Orlanne has loads of lovely patterns, and I was looking at a few of her patterns and also looking at Ozetta, who I think is Hayley Smedley. I think that's her name, but I think her design name is Ozetta. She also has some really nice cardigan patterns. But I think I'm going to go with the Bonnie. But Orlanne has 2 quite similar patterns. So there's the Bonnie, which is, I think, the Aran weight, which I'm going to do. But then there's the Albini, which is a DK weight. But it's like, and they've got kind of like subtle differences between them. The Albini has pockets, and I'm sort of thinking I might nab the pockets from the Albini and put them on the Bonnie, just so it's more like a jackety style, kind of coat cardigan, a coatigan. I feel like I've heard people call coat cardigans coatigans before. So that is my plan. Hopefully cast that on soon, and then yeah, I won't have to feel guilty about having 2 sweater quantities of yarn in my stash that are quite similar. They will become one garment, which I'll get loads of wear out of. That's the plan anyway. So yeah, that's kind of me caught up with what I've been working on. I definitely feel like I talked too quickly. So apologies for that. There is one little thing I wanted to add in at the end, which I know in like my intro I talk about it being mainly a knitting podcast, but with a few other things sprinkled in. So this is some of the sprinkling. I have recently started doing a bit of like visible mending. there's so much on Instagram now, it's like so inspiring. I love seeing, I think it's Celia Pym, who has like a beautiful account with lots of visible mending that she shares. And my dad has a jumper that he absolutely loves. I'm pretty sure it's from Primark, so not a particularly high-end jumper, but he wears it all the time. I saw him about 6 months ago and he'd worn a hole in the elbow. So 6 months ago I did some darning on the elbow and patched it up here. So I don't know how well it's like showing up. This is actually some Mondim yarn that I did like a little collaboration with someone who does like natural dyeing several years ago, and she naturally dyed a load of Mondim yarn. So I think, I mean, it's kind of faded as well because I suspect Dad will have washed this quite a lot. But yeah, I think one is indigo dyed, or maybe they're both indigo dyed, but yeah, it's a little woven panel. And at the time I was like, Dad, do you want me to kind of do a precautionary like reinforcement on the other elbow? And he was like, oh no, it's fine, I don't think you'll need to. Anyway, my parents were here last weekend and Dad brought the jumper again because the other elbow had gone. So I did the other elbow, and I don't really know how well that's picking up, but I used the kind of, I mean, I feel like the colours are all like meshing into one at this point, but I used a pinky grey yarn, which was tuku wool 4-ply, like the non-superwash one, and then I think more of like the Mondim naturally dyed, and then I think this green was left over from, it was some Daughter of a Shepherd yarn left over from a pair of socks I did earlier in the year. So yeah, I just thought I'd show that. It's so fun to do. Anyone who's got things that need darning, just like, do not be intimidated. There's loads of YouTube videos out there as to how to do it. I've got a really beautiful darning mushroom, which I bought like 4 or 5 years ago, didn't use like up until 6 months ago, so it feels good to be getting some use out of it now. I bought that from Northern Yarn. I don't know if she still stocks them. I think they were like locally made, and yeah, I meant to have it here with me, but I don't. But you don't need fancy tools. Like, you can literally use, I've seen tutorials where people have taken like an orange, and all you do is just like put the orange like underneath where the hole is, and then get a hair bubble or an elastic band and like kind of gather it up underneath so that the fabric is under some tension. I mean, I'm not going to like verbally explain how to do it because I feel like it'll be so much easier to watch a little video or even like just look at a picture series, but it's very easy and it's very satisfying, and you can use little scraps and you can have fun with colour, and I think it's quite fun, like not trying to like hide where it is. I think it's quite fun to do that, and Dad likes it, so, and it stops it from going in the bin, so that feels like a good job done. So I think I'm gonna sign off there. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and thanks again for the warm welcome that everyone gave me on my first episode. Feel free to comment on what you're working on right now. I'd love to hear what people are working on, get pattern recommendations. Has anyone made the Bonnie? Am I making the right decision, or should I switch it up and make something else? I've not cast it on yet, and I probably won't for I don't know, at least a few days. So yeah, any recommendations, feel free to send them my way. So I think that's everything now from me and Phoebe. See if the sleepy cat wants to be lifted up to say goodbye. You're gonna say bye, Phoebe. Bye. Ooh, thanks for watching. Bye.